of the main attractions is the wealth of steam locomotives which run upon the line. In fact, the locomotives came before the railway, and it all started with Captain Howe acquiring two superb 15-inch gauge engines in 1925, built on a similar design to the Flying Scotsman. In order to run these locomotives, he chose to build a line from the Kent seaside towns of Hythe and Dymchurch to New Romney, providing a link with the Southern Railway. The railway was opened in July 1927 and was such a success that the following year it was extended from New Romney to Dungeness. During this time, many more locomotives were bought, and the line had many successful years until the outbreak of World War II. A fascinating development of this period was the introduction of the world's only 15-inch gauge armoured train, housed under a dummy hill at Dymchurch. After Howe's death in 1963, the railway fell into decline, until in 1971 a consortium stepped in to save the day and keep the line operating. Since then, the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway has steadily grown in strength and is currently carrying nearly 200,000 passengers a year over its 13.5 miles of track. The visitors who come here see the railway more or less in its original condition, as marketing manager Derek Smith explains.
The railway is very much the same today as it was in 1927. There have been changes to buildings and things, but we still have all the original locomotives, and it still operates a summer service for holidaymakers to the area. The fleet now consists of 11 steam locomotives and 2 diesels. Obviously the 2 diesels are fairly new, coming in 1983 and 1989. Of the 11 steam locomotives, the only one that wasn't built for the Romney is Black Prince, which we acquired in the mid-1970s from a railway in Germany. All the other locomotives are Romney originals.
These engines are kept in immaculate condition and maintained to high standards with the help of a supporters association founded in 1967. The many people who come here cannot fail to be impressed by the scale of the operation. Also the intensity of services, the varied nature of the line, its stations and surroundings. Even the bleak aspect of Dungeness, once called the land that God never finished, has a charm all of its own. It's a haven for thousands of migrating birds and world-renowned for the moths and butterflies that abound. It also has a great variety of unusual plant life, not forgetting, of course, a rather unusual railway. The most striking thing about the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway is that it is a genuine main line in miniature, with all the aspects of a full-scale operation, making a journey on the railway a truly remarkable experience for all concerned.
We move now to Austria and start by visiting the Vienna Tramway Museum. The exhibits, which trace the Vienna tram history from its first beginnings to today, are housed in a former tramway depot which is still connected to the town's extensive network. Here they have lovingly restored one of every type of the town's trams. The only non-working exhibit is a Vienna steam tramway locomotive. Occasionally, preserved trams Underground trains and even the yellow service vehicles are let out of the museum for special runs through the city. They're a great sight as they travel all over Vienna's tram lines and remind the older citizens of their younger days. But Vienna has another surprise in store.
Buses and coaches had killed the interurban railways by the 1950s. One of the very few survivors is the Vienna to Baden Railway, and it's doing so well that it's been able to resurrect the old Royal and Imperial Saloon and the very nice habit of serving food during the journey.
Just like so many other vehicles, this special saloon car now passing the famous Vienna Opera House was found derelict after the war. It was lovingly restored to its present condition. This royal and imperial saloon conveyed members of the court to their villa in Baden. Emperor Franz Joseph and Austria's last crowned head, Emperor Charles, used this saloon car for the 30 kilometers journey. My journey along the Ringstrasse was a unique experience. Views of the opera house, the Burgtheater, even famous coffee houses and glimpses of the palatial buildings beyond. This saloon car dates from 1899 and was originally an experimental vehicle. In 1908, it was turned into the imperial saloon car in the style of the wagon lit. The work was done at the Baden Railway's own works. Cut glass, exquisite furniture, and large windows still give a feeling of grace and luxury. After the war, the saloon was a total wreck and was bought by the Austrian Society of Railway Friends as a static club room. The cost? A mere 5,000 Austrian shillings. It was restored with the help of the Wagon Company, remotored and fitted with a more modern electrical system. In every other respect, it remains unchanged. The idea was to make the car fit for service for special occasions without any obvious modifications. It's certain that the Royal and Imperial Saloon will give pleasure to many people visiting Vienna, even if they can't travel all the way through the town to the vineyards of Grinzing, as I did. For anybody that does go, make sure to have your caviar sandwiches and your champers. It's a super ride. Flowers always look splendid on preserved railways, like these, on one of the 10 stations of the West Somerset Railway.
This is Britain's longest preserved line and is packed with interest and variety for enthusiasts and holidaymakers alike. From Minehead to Dunster, the line runs dead straight along the flat for 1.5 miles. After this, the sea comes into view, and we arrive at Blue Anchor, one of the finest settings for a preserved station. Then the profile changes dramatically to a 1 in 65 gradient and curves round into Washford, home of the Somerset and Dorset Railway Museum Trust. They have a large headquarters, including a depot housing locomotives and rolling stock. There's also a small relics museum and working signal box, providing much interest for visitors stopping at the station. After Washford, the line descends on another curved section into the ancient port of Watchet. This was once a scene of much railway activity, with a maze of sidings serving the harbour. Unfortunately, it's now a lorry park. On leaving Watchet, a brief encounter with the sea. Passing Doniford Halt, a station built in 1986 to serve a nearby holiday complex. The line changes its character once again and swings right into the Somerset countryside. The next station is Williton, featuring several points of interest. It's hard to miss the superb prize-winning maze garden of Highbridge House, next to the station. The buildings on the down platform date from the opening of the line in 1862 and are a perfect example of Bristol and Exeter railway architecture. This includes the only Bristol and Exeter signal box remaining at work in the country, and with 81 panes of glass to clean must surely test volunteer dedication to the limit. Williton is the main crossing point for trains, and is also the headquarters of the diesel and electric group, who keep all their locos here. The next station is Tagumba, where the line is cut into the side of a hill. A shortage of space made it necessary to build a platform on one side of the line, with the station buildings at ground level on the other side, making it one of the more unusual stations. Another superb station awaits us at Crocombe, a first-class prize winner in the National Best Restored Station competition in 1985. An interesting feature is a section of Brunel's broad gauge track alongside the standard gauge of 4 foot 8.5 inches for comparison. The end of normal passenger working is at Bishop's Lydiard, some 20 miles from Minehead. The railway owns a further 3 miles up to Norton Fitzwarren, where there's a connection with the main line. It was at Bishop's Lydiard that we asked General Manager Mark Smith about the motive power used on the line.
Mark, with this length of line, how many locomotives do you own?
Well, we don't actually own any, but we hire in all our locomotives. 4 are in service at the moment. The newest acquisition being Bradley Manor, this beautiful machine you see just simmering away behind us.
And who maintains them and where do you maintain them?
Well, we have a small facility at Minehead, a running shed with a machine shop alongside. We can do quite a lot of repairs, but major work still sometimes has to go out and go elsewhere.
With the political change of the railways, do you forecast a possible change in use?
We've certainly been discussing with the train operating units who've been formed since April the 1st, the possibility of their bringing summer-dated trains to Bishop's Lydiard. The idea being that people can have an excursion with 20 miles, the last 20 miles, to the seaside by steam.
During our visit, a steam traction rally was in full swing, providing yet more entertainment for the visitors. Many engines were in steam, driving a wide range of old farm machinery. With all the varied attractions that the West Somerset Railway has to offer, it's hardly surprising that this is one of the most popular lines in the country, and is certain to remain so for many years to come. Well, we come down to earth next week for some raw and rugged steam action in Zimbabwe. We'll also be sampling some of the steam delights to be found in Russia.
Special workings on British Main Line and the smaller world of miniature railways will also be featured. And the programme will come from South Tyrol in Italy, from a scenic tramway high on the mountains. So until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.